The invitation arrived on cream cardstock with gold embossing. My cousin Victoria's wedding to tech entrepreneur James Chen. Black tie required. +1s encouraged. I had neither a +1 nor any intention of making excuses for it. Victoria and I had been close once, back when we were children sharing secrets at family reunions. Then she'd gone to Yale, married into old money on her first try, divorced strategically, and now she was marrying a man whose startup had just been valued at $3 billion. I'd gone to state school, stayed single, and according to family gossip, never quite launched. The week before the wedding, my Aunt Eleanor called. "Darling, about Saturday. Victoria wanted me to mention, gently, that the seating is rather complicated. Since you're coming alone, they've placed you with some other singles. You don't mind, do you?" "That's fine, Aunt Eleanor. You're always so understanding. Not like some people who make a fuss about everything. This is why we love you." Love. Their kind of love always came with qualifications. Friday evening, the rehearsal dinner filled a private room at the city's most exclusive restaurant. I arrived in a simple black dress, no jewelry except my watch, a vintage Patek Philippe that had belonged to my grandmother. Victoria swept over in designer silk, her smile bright and sharp. "Cousin, you made it. I wasn't sure you could take time away from, what is it you do again?" "Investment analysis." Right. Like a financial advisor." She patted my arm. "So practical. James is obsessed with money, people, but on a different level, obviously. He deals with venture capital, billions in play. Very complex stuff. I'm sure. Anyway, tomorrow you're at table 9. Mixed group, a few singles, some distant relatives. You'll hardly notice you're alone. Everyone's very friendly." Her fiancé appeared, tall and confident in an impeccable suit. James Chen had the kind of presence that commanded rooms. Sharp eyes, easy smile, the relaxed confidence of someone who'd turned algorithms into empires. "James, this is my cousin Meera. She does something with investments." James shook my hand, his grip firm. His eyes flickered to my watch just for a second, then back to my face. Something shifted in his expression, but Victoria was already pulling him toward more important guests. I found my place card at a side table far from the action. The other guests were pleasant enough. Victoria's former college roommate, a divorced uncle, James's childhood friend who'd moved back from overseas. The speeches were full of praise for the happy couple. Victoria's father spoke about his daughter's impeccable taste. James's business partner talked about vision and disruption and changing the world. No one asked me about my work. That was standard. What they didn't know, I managed a private investment fund that controlled $18 billion in assets. My clients included 3 heads of state, a dozen Fortune 500 CEOs, and one tech entrepreneur who'd built his empire on an algorithm I'd helped fund 3 years ago when nobody else believed in him. That entrepreneur was currently standing at the front of the room, toasting his future wife. James Chen didn't know his earliest investor was sitting at table 9. I'd structured the investment through shell companies and intermediaries. Clean, anonymous, professional. That's how I operated. Quiet money, no publicity, no ego. In my world, invisibility was power. The wedding day was flawless California weather. The venue was a cliff-top estate overlooking the Pacific, all soaring glass and minimalist elegance. Valet parking, security checking names against lists, photographers stationed at every angle. I arrived alone as expected. The planner, a severe woman with an iPad and an attitude, intercepted me at the entrance. "Name? Meera Patel." She scrolled, her mouth tightening. "You're at table 9. Singles and miscellaneous guests. The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. Your section is to the left, behind the main guest area." Behind. We prioritized seating for couples and immediate family in the premium viewing areas. "I'm sure you understand." Her smile was professional condescension. "Single people don't get premium seating. It's just logistics." I could have corrected her. Could have mentioned that I'd been personally invited by the groom, even if he didn't know it yet. Could have noted that my net worth exceeded most of the premium-seated guests combined. Instead I said, "Of course," and found my seat in the back section, partially obscured by decorative olive trees. The ceremony was beautiful. Victoria floated down the aisle like a dream in custom Vera Wang. James waited with genuine emotion on his face. He clearly loved her. That was nice. Love and strategy didn't have to be mutually exclusive. When they were pronounced married, the crowd erupted. I clapped politely from behind my olive tree. The cocktail hour buzzed with champagne and conversation. I recognized faces from business magazines, venture capitalists, startup founders, tech journalists. Victoria had assembled an impressive guest list, all the right people in the right configuration. I accepted a glass of wine and positioned myself near the edge of things, observing. Meera, I turned. James's business partner, David, approached with interest in his eyes. We'd met once briefly at a conference 2 years ago. David, congratulations on the wedding. You know the bride? Cousins. And you're James's partner at Quantum Systems. Good memory. He studied me. You work in finance, right? Investment management. Boutique firm. Something like that. He waited for me to elaborate. I didn't. After a moment he excused himself to network with more important people. This was familiar territory, being present but peripheral, known but not notable. It was exactly where I preferred to be. The reception hall was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the ocean, tables dressed in ivory and gold. The head table sat on an elevated platform, spotlit like a stage. Table 9 was in the back corner, near the service entrance. My tablemates included Victoria's yoga instructor, a second cousin who'd come alone after a messy divorce, and James's uncle who barely spoke English. From here the head table looked very far away. Dinner was served with military precision. Speeches began. Victoria's father praised his daughter's achievements, her charity work, her social graces, her perfect choice in husbands. James's mother spoke about her son's brilliance and drive. Victoria stood to thank everyone, radiant in the spotlight. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by the people who matter most. Family, friends, James's incredible network of innovators and visionaries. You've all contributed to making us who we are. Her eyes swept the room, landing everywhere except table 9. Around 8 o'clock as dessert was being served, James stood. He'd shed his jacket, his tie loosened, looking more relaxed. I want to thank someone special, he began. 3 years ago, when Quantum Systems was just an idea in my garage, I couldn't get funding anywhere. VCs wouldn't return my calls. Banks laughed at my projections. I was about to give up. The room quieted. This wasn't the planned speech. Then I got a call from an intermediary. An investor wanted in. Substantial seed funding, favorable terms, minimal interference. They believed in the algorithm when nobody else did. James's voice softened. That investment saved my company. Made everything possible. And I never got to thank them properly because they insisted on anonymity. My wine glass paused halfway to my lips. I've spent 3 years trying to identify my mystery investor. My lawyers couldn't crack the shell company structure. My accountants hit dead ends. James smiled. But last night I finally figured it out. Want to know how? The room leaned in. Victoria showed me the seating chart. I saw a name that triggered something. Meera Patel. I'd heard that name whispered at investor conferences. The ghost of Silicon Valley. The woman who funds empires and disappears. He scanned the crowd. Is Meera Patel here? My heart rate didn't change. Years of high-stakes negotiation had trained me for this. Slowly I raised my hand from table 9. Every head in the room turned. James's face broke into a genuine smile. There she is. At table 9. Behind the service entrance. Victoria's expression shifted from confusion to recognition to horror. Would you come up here, please? James gestured to the stage. I stood, very aware of the hundreds of eyes tracking my movement across the reception hall. My simple dress, navy Armani, understated, expensive only if you knew what to look for, suddenly felt like armor. I climbed the steps to the head table. James met me there, his handshake warm and firm. Ladies and gentlemen, Meera Patel. The investor who gave Quantum Systems its first real chance. The woman who believed in an algorithm everyone else thought was crazy. He turned to me. I did the math last night. Your initial investment is now worth approximately $2.7 billion. A collective gasp rippled through the room. That makes you our largest single shareholder. James's voice carried to every corner. And my family seated you in the back corner. With all due respect to table 9. The yoga instructor at my former table looked faint. Victoria had gone very still at the head table, her perfect smile frozen. I want to do this publicly, James continued. Meera, thank you. Your faith in me changed my life. You asked for nothing except anonymity and quarterly reports. You never interfered, never demanded board seats or control. You just believed. He paused. I owe you everything. And apparently my wedding planner owes you an apology. The severe planner near the entrance had turned the color of the ivory tablecloths. James, this isn't necessary, I started. It absolutely is. You should be at this table. You've earned it more than half the people here. He looked at Victoria. Darling, I think we need to fix something. Victoria's mouth opened then closed. Her father, seated nearby, had turned an alarming shade of purple. I appreciate the gesture, I said carefully, but I'm comfortable where I am. I don't need premium seating to know my worth. That's exactly why you deserve it. James's voice was firm. Meera, I'm not just grateful for the money. I'm grateful for the example. You taught me that real power doesn't need recognition. That the smartest people in the room are often the quietest. He turned back to the crowd. To answer the question everyone's wondering. Yes, she's that investor. The one Forbes has been trying to identify for 5 years. The ghost behind 7 major tech companies, 2 pharmaceutical breakthroughs, and the renewable energy initiative that's changing Africa. He raised his glass. To Meera Patel, the most important guest at this wedding, seated at table 9. 400 glasses rose. I stood there, very aware of the cameras, the journalists in the crowd, the smartphone videos being recorded. Victoria finally found her voice. Meera, I had no idea. You never said. You never asked, Victoria. There's a difference. The words landed in perfect silence. I asked what you did and you said investment analysis, Victoria protested weakly. That's what I do. You decided it wasn't interesting enough to explore further. I kept my voice gentle but clear. You assumed investment analysis meant retail financial planning, not managing billions in private capital. You heard single and thought unsuccessful. You saw quiet and thought nothing to say. Aunt Eleanor at a nearby table looked stricken. But why didn't you correct us? Victoria's voice rose. Why let us think? Think what? That I was less than I am. I met her eyes. I didn't let you think anything. You chose your assumptions. I simply didn't perform for your expectations. James's mother spoke up, her voice interested. Meera, this investment strategy, operating through anonymity, is that intentional? Completely. Public investors attract noise, politics, ego. I prefer to evaluate opportunities on merit, invest strategically, and let the founders build without interference. I smiled slightly. Though occasionally it means getting seated near the bathroom. Laughter rippled through the crowd, real laughter, not the polite kind. A tech journalist I recognized from TechCrunch stood. Ms. Patel, can I get a quote? This is the biggest reveal in Silicon Valley in years. No comment. My work speaks for itself. But I said no. The steel in my voice was subtle but unmistakable. I don't give interviews. I don't seek publicity. I fund good ideas and talented people. That's all. James squeezed my shoulder. See? This is exactly why she's brilliant. No ego, just execution. Victoria had recovered some of her composure. Meera, please let me fix this. Stay up here, join the head table. I don't need fixing, Victoria. I need honesty. I looked around the elevated platform at all the important people in their premium seats. This table represents what you value: visibility, status, connections. Those things have their place. But they're not where real power lives. I descended the steps, returning to the reception floor. Real power lives in the work itself. In knowing what you've built and who you've helped build it. In being so secure in your value that you don't need the head table to prove it. I walked back to table 9 where the yoga instructor and divorced cousin were staring at me like I'd grown wings. Mind if I rejoin you? I asked lightly. The view's better from back here anyway. The aftermath was predictable. Video of James's speech went viral within hours. Billionaire's mystery investor revealed at wedding topped business news. Tech blogs dissected my investment history. Forbes ran a profile titled, "The Woman Behind the Curtain, Meet Silicon Valley's Ghost Investor." I declined every interview request. Victoria called 14 times before I answered. Meera, the press is camped outside my house. They're calling me elitist, saying I humiliated you. Did you? Silence. You put me at table 9 because I'm single and you assumed I had nothing to offer your impressive guest list. Was that assessment wrong? I didn't know. You didn't care to know. There's a difference. I softened slightly. Victoria, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. We were close once. You could have asked about my life instead of assuming it was small because it was quiet. I'm sorry. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I believe you are. But sorry doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change how you see people who don't perform success your way. How do I fix this? Start by examining why you need to fix it. Is it because you hurt me? Or because you're embarrassed the cameras caught it? She didn't answer. James reached out separately, professional and warm. Meera, I hope I didn't overstep. Victoria's upset and I feel responsible. You told the truth. That's never overstepping. The board wants to meet you. Officially. We're planning a major expansion and we'd value your input. James, I'm not that kind of investor. You know this. I fund, I monitor, I stay silent. That's the arrangement. But don't you want recognition? Credit for what you've built. I smiled even though he couldn't see it. I have something better than recognition. I have impact. I have 7 companies changing the world, none of which need my face on their website to succeed. That's worth more than any head table. You're remarkable, he said simply. No. I'm just clear about what matters. The wedding photos made their rounds on social media. In every frame of the head table, Victoria and James glowed in the spotlight. Somewhere in the background of wider shots, if you looked carefully, you could see table 9. That's where I belonged, not because I lacked worth, but because I'd chosen a different kind of power. 3 weeks later, I received a handwritten note from Victoria. I've been thinking about what you said. You're right, I made assumptions. I measured success by visibility and forgot that the most important work often happens quietly. I don't know if you'll forgive me, but I want you to know I'm trying to learn from this. Maybe we could have coffee? Just us, no cameras, no performance. I want to know who my cousin actually is, not who I assumed she was. I folded the note carefully. Maybe I'd meet her for coffee. Maybe there was still a relationship to salvage beneath the assumptions and hurt. Or maybe table 9 was exactly where I needed to be. Far enough from the spotlight to see clearly, close enough to the exits to leave when the performance became too much. Either way, my portfolio didn't need premium seating to generate returns. And my worth had never depended on where someone else decided to place my name card.